In this video, I will discuss the difference between the individual and the market demand. It is one of the easiest concept to understand. So let us have a look. What do we mean by individual and the market demand? Individual demand is basically the demand for a good or services by an individual or by a person. One person demand is known as the individual demand. For example, as an individual, your demand for water bottle per week is 7 bottles per week. So it is your individual demand, and demand actually different can be different for different individual. Your demand for water bottle is 7 water bottles per week. Maybe your friend's demand for water bottle may be the 10 bottles per week. So different individuals have different demand. And what about the market demand? Market demand is actually the summation of all the demands by different individuals in the market of a good. For example, again consider the market of water bottle, where and how can we find out the market demand? We just consider the number of the individual in that market who are demanding water bottle, and then we have to take a sum of all the individuals in the water bottle market. So for example, if there are two individuals in this market, one is demanding 7 bottles per week and the other one is demanding 10 bottles per week, then the total market demand is going to be the summation of both of these demands for these individuals, for these two individuals. So one is 7 and then plus 10 bottles, so market demand is going to be 17 for water bottle. Okay. So I hope that you have understood a little bit from this verbal example. Now let us have a look to another example of tune fish cans market. And here we are assuming that there are only two buyers, Amir and Samir, and their individual demand curves are also given for this product. Amir, and as usual, we are measuring prices on the y-axis and the quantity demanded on the x-axis. Okay, so first consider the demand curve for Amar. Amar, when price is 1.6, Amar is not demanding any tune can. His demand is equals to 0. That's why we have a point here on the vertical axis, which is actually the vertical intercept of the demand curve. Okay, and what about if price decreases from 1.6 to 1.4, what will happen to the demand? According to the law of demand, the demand should increase, and of course you can see that now Amar is demanding one can per week at this price. Okay, the next is that you can see as the price moves further down, then you can see that the demand for tune can is going to increase for Amar. Okay, and by joining all these points, you will have the demand curve for tune cans for Amar. Okay, so this is the demand curve for this guy Amar. Next comes to the second individual, who is Samar. Samar is demanding zero quantity when the price is 1.6, 1.4, 1.2, until the price fall down up to 0.6. So when price decreases up to 60 cents or $0.6, then Samar is starting to buy tune can, and at this price of $0.6 dollar, he is buying one can, right? And in the same way, as price further goes down, so you can see that Samar will also increase its quantity demanded for the tune can. Okay, so now you become familiar with the demand curve for these two individuals. The next point which you need to understand here is draw a market demand curve. It is not that difficult. If when you have information on the individual demands, then market demand is just the summation of the demand by the individuals in the market. Or sometimes we also say it that the market demand is the horizontal summation of the individual demands. Why we call it horizontal summation? Because we are measuring quantity demanded on the horizontal axis, and by horizontal axis, and by adding these quantities we will have the market demand. Okay, now without any delay, let me explain further here that for market demand, let us the prices are same. Let us consider that price is equals to 1.6. So at this price, what is the demand for Amar? What is the quantity demanded for Amar and quantity demanded for summer? Amar IA, and I'm denoting S for summer. Okay, so quantity demanded by Amar, it is equals to 0 because the price is very high. And what about the quantity demanded for summer? It is also 0. And how you can find the market demand? Market demand is just the summation of these two demands, right? So market demand at a price 1.6, it is equals to 0. So this is your first point for the market demand. For market demand, again you measure quantity on the x-axis and prices on the y-axis. So when price is 1.6, there is no demand for the tune can in the market. That's why we got this vertical intercept here for the market demand. Okay, and when price decreases from 1.6 to 1.4, let us suppose the next point, then you can see that so Amar is actually demanding how much? Amar is demanding 1 can. So 1. And what about summer? Summer is still, the demand for summer is still 0. So the total market demand is equals to the horizontal summation, which is now 1. So at price 1.4, the market demand is equals to 1, as you can see it from this point here, that when price is 1.4, the market demand is equals to 1 can per week. Okay, so in the same way you can define the other points on the market demand by just taking the summation of two individual demands at some specific price. So let me take another point. Let us say that the price falls up till $0.2, this point. So at this point you can see that mm, the quantity demanded by Amar, it is 7, right? It is 7 and $0.2. So it is 7 for Amar. And what about the other guy? At .2, Summer is actually demanding 3 cans per week. So total demand is equals to 10, right? And here in the market demand at this price of zero point 0.2, you can see that the total demand is equals to 10. So this is the way how you can define different points on the market demand, and how can you use the information on the individual demand in order to derive the market demand. So market demand is just the horizontal summation of the individual demand. Okay, the next point is actually very interesting point that we just have considered the individual market demand by considering just two individual, which is very easy to solve or define the market demand by just adding their demand. But in a normal situation or in reality, it is possible that there are thousands or 100,000 consumers for a good. So how can we solve for the market demand in that case? If they have different demand, then of course what is the procedure? That you just have to sum up all the demand by all the 100 consumers or 1,000 consumers. How it depends how many consumers are in the market. But let me assume that if all the individuals, they are demanding the same quantity or same amount, then in that case we can easily calculate the market demand. But how? We can just multiply the number of consumers number of consumers in the market with the individual demand. Okay, and it will actually gives you the market demand. So what you have to do there, that you just have to multiply number of consumers to the individual demand. If individual demand is same for all the individual, mean that if there are 100 consumers or buyers in the market of a good, or 1,000 consumers in the market of the good, and all the consumers, they are just using the same amount of that good, then in that case we can find out the market demand by applying this formula. Okay, so now let us again consider the example of toon can market, and here we are assuming that there are 1,000 consumers in the market. How many consumers? 1,000 consumers in the market. This is the number, and each of 1,000 consumers, they are demanding their individual demand is given here for toon can. This is the individual demand curve. It is not the market demand curve. So which is same for all the consumers. So when the price is 5, all the individuals and they are demanding 2 can, they are buying 2 cans per week. When price is 4, they are demanding 4 cans per week. So it means how can we solve for the market demand? You just have learned that you just need to add all the demands, which means that you just need to sum up. This is the summation sign. Sum all the individual demands, right? Which means D1 plus D2 plus D3 and so on, right? But if the demand is same, then we don't need to calculate it by summing all the demands. There is another method which I just have shown, that you just need to multiply the number of consumers with the individual demand, and this will gives you the one of the point for the market demand at specific prices. So when price is 5, now just look here in this this is the market demand. This is the market demand. So when price is 5 and each individual is demanding 2, then how can we find out the market demand? We just need to multiply 2, which is the demand at a price of 5, with the number of individual in that market. It is equal to 2000, right? So when price is 5, the market demand is 2000. It is measured in thousands of cans. Okay, when market demand when price decreases from 5 to 4, then you can see that there is an increase in the demand by each individual. Then in that case it is going to be then the market demand will be equals to 4 multiplied the number of consumers, which is 4000. So at a price of 4, the market demand is equals to 4000 cans. In the same way you can find out the market demand points for the rest of the prices. So I hope that you have understood this concept of computing or calculating the market demand based on the information on the individual demands. So this is all for this video, and if you have any question, you can ask by sending me an email.